Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I am Dana O'Gorman. I'm excited to be back. I missed last week. The girls handled it great. It was so much fun. But let me tell you, I am excited to be back because we have a lot to talk about today. There is so much going on. It's December football, right? Like that's what it is. You start to get into the thick of it and you start looking at playoff scenarios. The NFL released today a whole list of playoff scenarios. The Chiefs could clinch their division next week. I mean, seriously, it is hilarious. But I'm excited because I have with me Sonia. Sonia, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm enjoying football again. I had a couple rough weeks.
Same. I'm
real better now. And then joining us, I'm so excited. Jeanna Kelly. Sorry, it's Jeanna Thomas on Twitter. Jeanna Kelly is what her name is. She is the editor of, is it the Falcoholic? How do you say that?
The Falcoholic.
Falcoholic. I always screw it up every single time. That is the Atlanta Falcons page over on SBNation. She also was with SBNation NFL before, and she is a great friend of ours. And we're so excited to have you here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I am excited. And her knowledge of football is amazing. And so that's why we wanted to bring her on, because we've got some great topics for you guys tonight. But before we get started with that, we want to thank our sponsor, Donkey's Cheesesteaks. They have sponsored us for 2 years. We torture you guys with pictures of those cheesesteaks on our website, on our Twitter and social media accounts all the time. They are in Camden, Mount Holly, and Medford in New Jersey. So if you guys have some time and have a hankering for a cheesesteak, go see Donkey's Place in New Jersey and tell them that our Turf Girls sent you. All right. I want to start tonight with a conversation about a couple of hot topics that have come up. And I think probably the biggest one that came out just today was Baker Mayfield, right? So Baker Mayfield was with the Cleveland Browns. He got let go, and now he is in Carolina, and now they let him go mid-season. So weird, right? He did not have a great time with his starts. He had oh, yes, Camden. All right, I'm going to start right now because, look, she already called me on it. Camden, if you are watching over on Twitter, please come over to YouTube so that we can chat with you. You can join our live chat and chit chat with us. Thank you, Camden. All right, so Baker Mayfield was really interesting because he had 1-5 start, right, over in Carolina. Carolina didn't do well. They got rid of McCaffrey halfway through the season. It just seemed to be kind of like a dumpster fire. Sam Darnold comes in and actually plays pretty well, right? So what do? They don't sit him there in case Sam Darnold gets hurt again. No, they went ahead and let him go. Today, Baker Mayfield was picked up by the LA Rams. Don't get me started. We're going to talk about the Rams later in this. Sonia, I want to start with you. First of all, what were your thoughts on them letting him go mid-season? That's so bizarre to me.
It was bizarre to me. And I, like you said, just in case, what if Darnold gets hurt? What if something happens and who are you going to turn to? So, glitchy. So that was actually kind of weird to me. But then, we started talking about it last night. Where do you think he could go? And I felt that he needed to be someplace that had structure. Somebody was like the Colts. I was like, while it would be good, Colts are a dumpster fire right now. He doesn't need to be in a dumpster fire.
Yeah, they are.
He kind of is going to a dumpster fire, but at least there's a little bit more structure there in terms of coaching and coordinators and stuff like that. So I'm glad to see him hit the Rams, but it was a surprise to me.
Jeanna, the weird thing about him going to the Rams is, and we're going to talk about the Rams in depth later as we talk about every team that's at the bottom of their division, because that's where the Rams sit right now. But what was weird about this for me is he's not going to be their quarterback next year. He's not going to be on their roster next year. And so while I'm sure he's happy to be with a team, that has the reputation that the Rams do, this seems like a weird fit. I honestly expected him to be in Texas. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. And I think that would have made sense. The Rams are much more of a mess than you expect, even with the Super Bowl hangover. And obviously Stafford has been injured all season. And, now that they've had to put him on the shelf, from that perspective, I understand it. And I think, like you said, he is going to have structure there where I think it's going to be a much better situation for anyone than Carolina would be this season. But yeah, that was not where I expected him to land either.
Baker has kind of had a sharp drop off, to be honest with you. He played actually pretty well in Cleveland. But then Cleveland, had to go get, their sexual misconduct quarterback, as I like to call him. And so they went and got him, and Baker's like, hello. And remember all that drama, right? Not even just the Watson drama, but the Baker drama that went with that. And then he ends up in Carolina, where honestly, I thought that was going to be a good fit for him. I thought, hopefully he's got some decent weapons. I mean, that team has lots of holes, and we know that, right? But I really thought that might be a place that he could settle. And then he played so poorly. Sonia, does that reflect on Baker? Is that a reflection on the coaching staff in Carolina? Because no one has really done super well there. Where does, in your opinion, Baker's talent level lie?
Oh, Baker is a talented quarterback, I think, especially if he's playing with emotion. So I don't think Carolina, the coaching there was very good for him at all. We've seen it. He's got the potential to be a very good quarterback. Do I think he's along the lines of like a Rodgers or a Brady? No, or a Hurts even? No. But he's going to be a serviceable quarterback. I think maybe like a Zach Wilson or something like that. Zach just got benched. But you see where I'm going with this. Like he's a serviceable quarterback. I think he's got not a high ceiling, but he can play better. And I think that again, maybe with this Rams coaching staff, they'll be able to bring out something. But he also has that injured shoulder as well that he probably hasn't been able to do what he needs to do with that. So I think that's playing a slight part in it too.
Jeanna, if you had to pick, there's a lot of quarterback needy teams out there. Seriously, like looking into next year, and we're going to look a little bit at draft when we talk about these teams that are at the bottom of their division. We're look at the draft order a little bit. And this year's draft class doesn't seem to have panned out as well as at the beginning of the season we all thought they were going to. What do you see him landing as a starter somewhere, maybe with a team that misses out on their quarterback? Or do you think that this is his entry into backup world?
I think that this may be his entry into backup world, but you're still going to have teams like the Colts. If Matt Ryan comes back next year, I'm going to be stunned. He has looked terrible. He looks like his arm strength has really declined. He's getting beat all to heck behind that line. Atlanta, if they decide that they are not going to move forward with Desmond Ridder as the starter in 2023 and beyond, we have seen enough from Marcus Mariota. We know that he is not the guy. And so I think it's more than likely that Baker will be able to catch on in a backup role. But I think that those opportunities for a veteran serviceable starter to come in and be a stopgap guy are going to be there. So I think that there still is a chance that he could, come back in as a starter.
Interesting. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens and where he ends up. Graham has a good point here. He says he's not sure what he can do with the Rams with their injuries. Right. All he is they are just trying to not completely tank the rest of the season. That's really what's going on with the Rams. I don't know that Baker Mayfield will stop them from doing that, even, to be quite honest with you. That's just the division that they're in and the rest of their schedule, which is not pretty. All right, let's move on to our second kind of hot topic. I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers for a little bit. So with Green Bay struggling as bad as they are, they have a couple of bright spot rookies. I'm really enjoying their rookie wide receiver. But I just get the weird feeling, and it's been put out there a little bit, and like little hints, little sprinkles here and there, that there's a chance that this could be Aaron Rodgers' last year in the NFL. Even with the contract he just signed, even with all of that, there seems to be a conversation that we are watching Brady and Rodgers' last year this year. Sonia, would that surprise you? Or do you think he has enough of that kind of competition drive left to come back healed after thumb surgery, whatever the hell's wrong with him now, and see if he can make this run, because I don't see a Super Bowl team this year or next year for Green Bay.
No, I don't see a Super Bowl for them. They're a shadow of their former selves. Aaron Rodgers definitely is. I don't know. I just think this year he was like, yeah, maybe I'll give it a try and see what happens. I think he just had to beat Chicago a couple more times. I think that's really what it was. But I don't see him coming back. I think he's kind of had it, and I think he may be starting to see the writing on the wall and just feel that, you know what, I think it's done. I think I'm done. I think I've gotten all I've gotten.
I think that he's not going to beat Brady. He's not going to get anywhere near Brady. He's not going to get the next Super Bowl. And so he can get there with Peyton. I mean, he's really just kind of, he's where he's at. Hall of Famer, no question. Great reputation. Lots of people love him. Not me, but lots of people love him. But I find it fascinating that he could have gone out on top just like Brady. And they decide that greed just pulls him back every single time. Gina, when you think of Aaron Rodgers and the attitude that he has had the last couple of years, the blaming all of the rookies that he has, does Green Bay, even if he wanted to come back, I mean, the Green Bay would have to bring him back because of that contract, but I think that I get the feeling that Green Bay is ready to move on too.
Well, their coach said this week that they absolutely want him back. But what else are you going to say? I mean, that doesn't mean that it's actually true. He really, and the thing is, he's gotten the team a lot more attention for things like being immunized and drinking ayahuasca than he has for quality play. And so I can see that they might want to move on from kind of the clown show that everything around him has become. But yeah, I mean, if he wants to come back, I don't know how you say no to that because of his history with this team and because of how well he's played over the years. So,
yeah, I just don't get the feeling that team has it. I just don't feel like there's enough substance there. And that's no shade on a team. It feels like a rebuilding team. I mean, that's what it feels like. You're going to get these rookies and you're going to get, let's start rolling a little bit. And Jordan Love's just sitting there. I mean, if it were me, honest to God, I'd yank him, make him get his surgery and play Love the rest of the season because you're not winning that division. You're not, you're not making the playoffs. And so why do that? Except for I could see where that would hurt the ego, which is a big ego for Aaron Rodgers. And so I could see where maybe they were doing that too. I don't know how I would feel, you guys. It would be, I mean, it was weird last year when Brady retired for his 2 seconds. I was like, oh, dang it. And then I was a little mad at myself because I'd never seen him play live. Well, then this year I went to Germany. I got to go to the Germany game, saw him play live. And now I'm like, okay, you can go. Because I've seen Aaron Rodgers play live and I don't need to see him again. So it would just, but a definite, much like when Peyton and Eli retired, it's much, again, the changing of the guard and these young guys, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, all of these younger guys that are coming in and really making a difference. So I don't know. It's interesting to me. So, all right. Well, that is our news for the day. There's a lot more hot topics, but I just have no desire to talk about a couple of them, especially one that played a game down in Texas this week. So we don't bring that up on our show. All right. So no, I wanted to move on. All right. This might seem like a weird topic to people, right? Because why do you talk about the worst teams in the division? Well, you talk about them because I want to see what's going on with each of those teams, where they're going and kind of where they can fix a lot of their problems. And a couple of them, you guys have some real problems. All right. So I want to go ahead and get started on that. We're going to start with the AFC East. So right now it is the Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. This is a tight division. The Bills are 9-3. The Dolphins are 8-4. Jets are 7-5. The Patriots are 6-6. And so this isn't a division where I see teams that really have problems. Do you know what I mean? I feel like this is a division that actually is kind of on the up and up. It's on the up and coming a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and talk about the Patriots. There was a lot of talk about Bill Belichick this week, and that Tom Brady is definitely better than Belichick. And we had that whole back and forth coming again. Sonia, I want to start with you. When you look at this Patriots team, I see it as a team that's 1 to 2 seasons away from
Mhm.
really playing well. I like their quarterback play. I like their defensive play, but they have one of the oldest head coaches in the league. How much longer is Belichick going to play? What do you see when you look at the Patriots?
I see a coach in Bill Belichick that feels that he can possibly do this one more time with Mac Jones, especially, he likes to have people just play their roles. And so, I can see him wanting to try this again with Mac Jones to see what he can do. So I think he's in here for a couple more years. That's just my thoughts on it. It sounds like, though, the bigger issue, and I'm kind of not shocked, is Matt Patricia. And so I think if they get, who knew? I think if they fix their Matt Patricia problem, I think that will also allow them to not be bottom dwellers. But they're not like you said, the division is so close and they're not like that far away from, being back to their old spot. So that's what I think. It's more of a Matt Patricia problem right now than anything.
Who the hell decided he was playing Colin Place? That's what I want to know. Jeanna, who decided he was playing
Bill Belichick, and I think that it's actually a pretty strong indication that he should maybe retire. Like, why did you think letting Matt Patricia call your offensive plays was going to be a good idea? My husband, who's a Patriots fan, thinks that they are just kind of holding that spot open for when Josh McDaniels gets fired. To bring him back.
That could be.
It's my current favorite NFL conspiracy theory. I think that it might be true. So, but yeah, I don't know what he was thinking, and it's so clear that it is a massive problem for the offense.
It really is, and you watch these games, and I don't know how many games you probably watch a lot, Jeanna, because your husband's a fan. But you watch these games, and you're like, "What the hell just happened?" Like, it's just baffling. And if they could fix just a few of those things, I think they'd be right in the thick of it. Technically, they are still right in the thick of this division, because this division is, it's a good division, a strong division. And so I don't know that the Patriots have a lot to fix. 1 or 2 playmakers in a draft or in free agency, which we know Belichick loves to go grab those guys. I think that this team could be kind of right there again if they, right where they need to be. All right, so let's move on. We'll go to the AFC West. Let's just talk about the dumpster fire that is the AFC West. Let me just say that right now. The AFC West was let me start that again. The NFC East turned out to be what I thought the AFC West was going to be this year. I thought this was going to be a fantastic division. I thought this was going to be crazy, competitive right down the line. Not at all. Total opposite. Congratulations, Kansas City. But sitting at the bottom, so we have the Chiefs with 9-3, the Chargers at 6-6, the Raiders at 5-7. The Raiders have won 3 in a row. So they were even worse just a few weeks ago, but they're kind of get it together a little bit. And then you have the Denver Broncos sitting at 3-9, 4 losses in a row. Oh my God. Okay. I have lots of opinions about this, but I'm actually going to start with Jeanna this time. Jeanna, when you look at this team, I'm going to ask you, who's the bigger problem? Nathaniel Hackett or Russell Wilson?
Nathaniel Hackett.
Okay.
Especially when you're bringing a veteran player into a new scheme, it's on the coach to make sure that he acclimates. Russ has looked bad, but I think that it's the coach's responsibility to adapt the scheme to suit his strengths. And I do not feel like that is happening. This is the worst that I've ever seen Russ play in his life, and I did not expect it. And coaching is the only answer that I can come up with. It makes no sense, because with Russ, when he has good moments, it doesn't look like he's completely, lost his ability to play well. I think that they just have not made him comfortable in their offensive scheme, and that is really holding the team back.
It's interesting, Sonia, when you talk about the Broncos, we can talk about the coach, we can talk about the quarterback, but really you have to talk about their injuries too. They have been absolutely leveled with injuries, not quite to the extent of the Rams, but it's been really bad for this team. And so we have to give a little grace with that. We have to give them a little leeway with that. But I agree with Jeanna. And that's not because Russell Wilson was my quarterback for 10 years. That's because when I watch these Denver games, you see moments where you're like, there he is. That's Russ. There he is. He's still there. And you can see the absolute frustration on his face, on his teammates' face. And the fact that Hackett had to give over, like, when do I call a timeout duties, to somebody else, it was baffling to me. One of the best, almost the best defense. I mean, San Francisco has the best defense, but almost the best defense in the NFL. They are rolling. Their defensive coordinator is fantastic. So really, this is just going to be an offensive rebuild. Does Hackett get fired at the end of the season?
I would think so.
I would hope
I
so.
really would. I mean, you've got Russell Wilson and he's not doing anything with him. And like you said, Jeanna, he needs to build this around him. And if he can't do it, get me somebody else who can, because I just spent a lot of money on this dude. So yeah, we're going to make him work.
It's true. And it's true. And and we all know, and I think it's pretty well known, they brought Hackett in thinking he was bringing Aaron Rodgers with him. I mean, we got that, right? And so they stepped on their own foot. Hackett was not ready to be a head coach. I don't know if he ever will be, but they jumped the gun there. Camden has a really good point. She says, what does Hackett even do? Every responsibility has been taken from him. It truly has at this point. Play calling, all of it has been taken from him. But they're still not winning. And so that at that point, it's a little bit deeper than that for sure. Mm-hmm. All right. Good luck to you, Denver fans. All right. So then we're going to go to the AFC North. We have the Ravens at 8-4, the Bengals at 8-4, the Browns at 5-7, the Steelers at 5-7. This division is fun every year. I love this division. I think if you look at those teams, Cleveland already knows what they need to do, and they got to do it this week. And so we're going to kind of let that lie, although I think they need to bring in some more weapons just than their quarterback. But you look at the Steelers, to me, this is a team that needs a complete change, not from their head coach. We love the Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin goes nowhere. We love you so, sir. But I do think they don't have their quarterback next year on their roster. They don't have enough playmakers for a young quarterback to come in if they get a rookie, if they trade for someone, whatever it may be. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in Pittsburgh. But a lot of people are talking that it might be time for Mike Tomlin to go, which makes me nauseous. Jeanna, is Mike Tomlin going to be a casualty of all the other things that need to happen in Pittsburgh?
I sincerely doubt it. It's really not the way that franchise operates. I mean, gosh, why am I drawing a complete blank on their last head coach's name?
Bill Cowher.
Yes,
Cowher,
thank you. I'm like, I can see his face.
I could too, and I could not come up with the name.
Thank you,
I
Sonia.
think Bill Cowher could have stayed there. I mean, he stayed there, I think, longer than a lot of teams would have given him, the opportunity to. And Tomlin's already been there a long time. Like, he's such a big part of the culture. He's definitely a player's coach. The team loves him. And so, yeah, I don't think that he will be fired. They don't tend to make those kind of knee-jerk decisions.
No, they're very solid, aren't they? I mean, they really, really are. And I think that this year they were trying out, Sonia, I don't think Kenny Pickett is their answer. I mean, no offense to Kenny Pickett fans. I don't think he's their answer. Maybe they'll try and bring in a veteran possibly to go up against him instead of going for another rookie. I don't know. But they need a lot of weapons. Minka Fitzpatrick had some great quotes this week. He was in fine form. And I think that this team has some pieces, but they have a lot of holes. When you look at the Steelers against the rest of this division, the Bengals, red hot. Mm-hmm. The Ravens, not so much. Well, now because Lamar, I don't know. God, that just hurts his contract, and it just breaks my heart for him. And then you have the Browns, who are a complete question mark because we have no idea what's going to happen there. I think that they almost need to be okay with not being good for a year or two to really build this draft. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I think that, as long as they're okay with putting stuff together and getting all the elements that they need. And I think they're not going to fire Tomlin, at least not right away. I feel that they have complete faith in him and, their GM and stuff. And I think that they have a plan, or they'll at least come up with a plan to build or to rebuild this team, regroup this team, I should say, because I don't think it's truly a full rebuild. I think they'll be able to regroup. I mean, they've got some great pieces. They've got TJ Watt. They've got, their defense is gonna be, and so I think that they just need just some revamping. I think players love him. I mean,
Yeah.
he is a great,
I think that it's interesting that there's been such harsh judgment, at least from the fans and from some of the media, about the Steelers this year, when they are 1 year removed of they've had their franchise quarterback forever. It's going to take them a little bit. So I hope that I'm excited to watch and kind of see what they do. It'll be interesting. It is a very well-run organization, so I have a lot of faith in it. The AFC South, we're sitting there with the Titans at 7-5, the Colts at 4-8, the Jags at 4-8, and then the Texans, sweet little Texans. I just want to scoop them up and give them a little squeeze and tell them how sorry I am that they have had such a bad time of it, because you just feel so bad for them. 1-10-1. It is just kind of a mess. But the funny thing is this week, the Titans are the ones that are acting like they're having all the problems, not at the front of the division. They fired their GM. They got rid of the only fullback they had on the roster. I don't know. There's lots of reaction. I'm wondering what has happened, but I think losing to AJ Brown did not make people happy this week.
Exactly.
So anyway, Titans, get it together. You're winning your division. When it comes to the Texans, and Sonia, I want to ask you this about Lovie Smith, because I know you and I are both fans of Lovie Smith. I wouldn't be surprised if Lovie Smith kept his job and they let him kind of see, what to do. But the Texans have some great pieces. Dameon Pierce, he's in the top 10 for running backs right now. That kid, he's a rookie. Fantastic. Has totally helped me on fantasy football. Thank you, sir. They have, but that's about it. I mean, they got one or two. Brandon Cooks, a couple others. Talk about a complete rebuild from the bottom up. And I was going to look this up for you real quick. But the beautiful thing about the Texans right now, let's just look at that draft order. Right now, they're first pick, right? And then they are again at the 13th pick from Cleveland right now. So they have 2 first-round picks, and then they're very high, obviously, in the second round. So my question is, how many years is it going to take to fix this team?
It's going to take a couple. It's going to take at least 2 to 3. I think, they've got the right coach. I think they got Lovie, and he kind of came in on some wonky circumstances. So I think, he'll be able to at least stay for a little while. If they got to nail this draft, though, that's probably part of it. They have to nail this draft. And if they don't, then that's going to push the timetable back a little bit more. And I think then if they don't nail this draft, then his job might be on the line. But I think it's going to take at least a couple of years. And if they are able to really get some good players in via the draft, maybe even some free agents, I think that, they'll be able to kind of make that move. But it's going to be at least 2 to 3 years.
Gina, the interesting thing about the Texans is I don't know how many free agents are going to want to go play there, just simply because of how bad they are. And Camden has a really good point. McNair can't run a team, so it won't matter. I don't really disagree with her. But I will say this. I think if they can get CJ Stroud, that might make a whole lot of difference. But who's he going to throw to? So they're going to have to go after some big free. I think they're going to have to they're going to have to throw some money around, like some crazy money.
If they want to compete in the immediate future, they are, because that roster is just kind of bare bones as far as talent. But everybody knew that this was going to be a rebuilding period for the Texans. And so from the perspective of, Lovie Smith's job security, I think that he's fine, because everybody expected the team to be bad. But they just have a lot of work to do. And nobody in the NFL has a lot of patience for rebuilds taking a long time. So it will be interesting to see how it goes. And I think that you're right. If they don't nail this draft and free agency period and they perform poorly again next year, I think that Lovie's job is going to be very insecure.
Which makes me sad, because I do love him. All right. So I know, but I'm a big softie, so whatever. So let's switch over to the NFC. So there are 2 divisions in the NFC that we don't even hardly got to talk about. And the first one is the NFC East. This division, they're full of rock stars this year. I don't know what happened. Did anyone expect the Giants or the Commanders to do anything? I didn't. So you have the Eagles at 11-1, in my opinion, the best team in football right now. Cowboys at 9-3, Giants at 7-4, the Commanders at 7-5. You guys, This division doesn't have a basement dweller. This division is fantastic. I am enjoying it so much. Sonia, do 3 teams make it into the playoffs out of this division?
Potentially. I think so. I definitely see. They very well could. The Giants or actually the Commanders, honestly.
Right.
Tyler Heineke's got going. They got them going. So it could
as we all predicted, right? We all thought that was going to happen.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this division is so fun to watch, Jeanna. I love it so much. I think that they are well run. I'm just a little obsessed with the Eagles right now. And that's no shade to my Seahawks because I love the Seahawks, but this is just they're so fun to watch. And Jason Kelce is my absolute favorite football player outside of Seattle. So I love it. If you had to look at the Giants or Commanders, they do have a couple of issues, obviously. But they're small and fixable. I don't see anything wrong with any of these teams. Do you?
I really don't. And
No.
yeah, I definitely think that 3 teams could get in, especially when you're looking at the rest of the NFC. I mean, it's really the NFC East and then everybody else way down here this year. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch these games. And I can't tell you the last time I was like, I can't wait to watch Giants and Commanders.
I know. Nobody, even if they played to a tie, even if it was high.
Exactly.
So Graham says odds on Giants and Commanders playing to a tie again next week. It's possible. And he thinks the Giants will struggle down the stretch. Now I have seen this from a lot of social media that they think that the Giants are going to start to kind of fall apart. I think as long as Saquon Barkley is healthy and Daniel Jones is playing the way he is, I don't know that that's true, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. That division is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to the NFC West. So you have the 49ers at 8-4, the Seahawks at 7-5, shockingly, the Cardinals at 4-8, and then the Rams. This is when I wanted to talk about the Rams. So here's the thing with the Rams, guys. This team coming off of a Super Bowl win, we all predicted that they were going to win the division again. They had all of these pieces, right? But we have to remember that a lot of those pieces are getting a little older. And they sold everything to get them, right? They sold the farm to get these pieces. Then what happens? Absolute disaster. I think they were on their 12th offensive line. Like the combination was 12. It was only the 12th week, and they had a different one every single week. They have injury after injury after injury, including one to Aaron Donald, obviously their number 1 player, who did not practice again today. And then you have Matt Stafford. So Matt Stafford came in. He played beautifully last year. And I think that what has happened with this team is there's a good chance Matt Stafford does not come back at all, that this is career ending. Wouldn't blame him. He's had a great career. He's won a Super Bowl. And now he has a neck injury, which is so scary in the NFL. Sonia froze with her face like that. Sonia, you have a very surprised face. Look, oh, so cute. So I'm wondering, and Jeanna, I'm going to go to you first. My biggest thing, and I want your thoughts on this. My biggest thing is the Rams do not have, as we mentioned, their quarterback for next year on the roster, even with just adding Baker Mayfield, which means they have to go after a quarterback. With what? They have given every pick they have away. And this is exactly kind of the doomsday situation that we thought that they might have. When you look at the Rams, is their window slammed shut if Matt Stafford does not come back?
It may be slammed shut even if he does. If they can't give him a stable offensive line, if they can't keep him upright, I don't see how this team is able to succeed. I think that they are going to have a long, hard road to being competitive again. Like you said, I mean, they gave away so much draft capital. They were just making it rain draft picks. Whatever player they wanted, take them. And it's going to be really, really hard to rebuild with the salary cap. Yeah.
Exactly. With the salary cap, which they expect to be insanely high next year. I mean, they're expecting it to be even higher than they predicted to begin with. They have room. They just don't have any draft picks, and you can't keep paying all of these players. We have talked about it a million times on this show. Everyone's like, oh, we kept saying the cap isn't real because we really didn't think it was real because the Rams just kept buying everybody. Well, this is what happens when you do. And then they get injured and they're done. You're still stuck with that money that you're going to pay them. So it's going to be interesting. So Sonia, we were talking earlier. I was talking on Twitter earlier. Sean McVay loves himself a really good waiver wire. Like he's all about it. If you were once a first round pick, you are coming to me, whether you have 2 broken legs and a broken arm, you're going to come play with me. And so what's interesting to me is that kind of feels a little bit like some desperation that he's just trying to grab someone that will make a difference. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he wants obviously to get back to where he was last year. And that fall has been so drastic that he just wants anybody and feels that if you were a former first rounder, let's go because we can do this. Because obviously you have enough talent because you were a first rounder, right? So I think that's probably his mentality, but it's not going to work. I mean, it's not, because like Jeanna said, first rounders get old. People get old.
They get broken.
And they get broken.
Yeah.
And Matthew Stafford is a fantastic example of that. Yeah. Like literally this probably breaks him. Like he's essentially played broken for years now. Yeah. And this probably does it.
Well, I'm glad he got his ring before he broke completely. I am. All right. So then we're going to talk about the NFC North. And then but we're going to go quick through the NFC North because it's the Bears. And I think, so the Vikings are at 10-2. Where'd that come from? The Lions at 5-7. Look at you there, Sonia. You got the Packers at 5-8, and then the Bears at 3-10. Here's my thing on the Bears. I'm gonna make it short, sweet. They just need position players. They have their quarterback. They have their coaching staff. They have everything. They just need some position players, and they just need to get this many more points to win these games. Do either one of you, Sonia, I'll start with you. Do you see it any differently than that?
No, not at all. I think Justin Fields is their guy, and get him some players.
Mm-hmm. Jeanna, what about you?
They lost, I think, 3 or 4 games in a row where they scored 30 points. That's super unusual. Typically, if your offense can put up 30 points, you're going to win the game. And so, I think that you're absolutely correct. They just need to be able to put a few more points on the board, and their record would look very different.
I think just 1 or 2 playmakers. I really do. I think they're so close. I think if they get their draft right next year, they are going to just be fantastic in this league. So kudos to you, Bears fans. We're real excited for your team. Okay, so Jeanna, I want to talk to you about the NFC South because I have one question for you. Let me tell you, Buccaneers 6-6, Falcons 5-8, Panthers 4-8, Saints 4-9. Jeanna, why does no one want to win this division? Nobody wants to win it. They just keep... I don't get it.
It is, and I think that last night's game was such a good. It was so emblematic of this division. The fact that the Saints had it, and then they're like, "Just kidding, I don't want to win this." Like Buccaneers, you take it. We've seen the same thing from the Falcons and the Panthers. I don't know. This division is a mess. I mean, the Falcons are in the middle of a rebuild. Obviously, Mariota's not the guy. The Saints, I think, are the biggest surprise, kind of, but that's just because historically they've been much more competitive. I think that we're really seeing that, Sean Payton and Drew Brees were the difference for this team. And so, it's going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out because really it's still wide open. I mean, the Falcons are only 1 game behind the Bucs. I hope that the Bucs stay in first place. Please do not subject me to this team in the postseason. I am begging you. I already have to watch Ohio State play Georgia at the college football playoff. I do not need to watch 2 of my teams get embarrassed on a national stage.
I am so confused by this because here's the thing. The Seahawks have lost to this division every time they played them, but they beat, teams that are even better than they are. I don't get it. This division is so confusing because you can see like the Bucs, you get it. Brady looks old, looks slow. We get that. The Falcons, you're right. It's Mariota. I really hope they let their rookie start now for a while and just but I don't know that they will because they're so close. They could win this division. I get it. So Graham put in there. He's like 8-9 is winning the NFC South. He might be right. Like it's so fascinating to me. This division, it's crazy. So Sonia.
Yes.
Is there a team in this division that is actually on the way up? the way you see it? Because I don't see it in Tampa Bay. Maybe the same. I don't see it in Carolina. I don't know Atlanta. I don't know.
I don't think Atlanta. No, they're not on the way up. I think they're just like you said. They've got a Mariota problem. The Bucs.
Like, where's Mike Evans?
That's what I'm saying. I think maybe if Mike Evans kind of gets in the mix a little bit, maybe. Saints, no. Panthers, nah. So potentially the Bucs. Potentially.
I think that the Saints possibly. I think if they get a quarterback back there, no offense, Andy Dalton, and your gingerness, but I'm just saying that it's he's a little old, right? They need some young spirit that's not named Taysom Hill, because you know how I feel about him. And so I really think that maybe their coach is fine. Sean Payton's not coming back, but I just think they need that kind of spark somewhere. And I think it's probably going to be in quarterback. So we'll see what's going to happen. I don't know. It's all just out there waiting to be figured out. All right, you guys. Jeanna, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I do too. And I hope that all of you guys will check her out. You can see her @ is right there. It's @ Jeanna Thomas, even though it's Jeanna Kelly, on Twitter. She's a fantastic follow. Jeanna, I'm assuming you went and voted today?
I did. Yes. Yay! I've got my sticker on. Oh, I'm pointing at the wrong side because it's,
Yes.
I live in Georgia, so it's a big Senate runoff. And yes, I absolutely got out there and voted today.
Oh, yeah. I love that about you, because I know that
I was about to say, I think we're neighbors now.
I know.
Oh, really?
She's in South Carolina. Yeah.
No, I'm in Georgia.
Oh, you're in Georgia. Yeah. That's right. Georgia.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm in Georgia.
Excellent. Well, then we are neighbors.
I know.
We are neighbors.
I'm going to stay in Kansas City. So
okay.
I like it.
But yeah, we voted last week.
Awesome.
Excellent.
It's very important to us here. If you guys follow us on Twitter, you already know that. But I'm just saying. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this week. We will be back again next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Central. We hope you join us. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.